It didn't happen all at once. I didn't wake up one morning and feel 20 years older. It came slowly. A missed alarm. A day when getting out of bed felt heavier than usual. A week when I skipped breakfast because I just didn't feel hungry. A month where every morning looked the same, gray, quiet, tired. At 76, I had convinced myself this was just how things were now. Slower, dimmer, a little foggy around the edges. My friends said the same. It's just part of aging, they told me. We're not meant to bounce like we used to, and I believed them. Until I didn't. Until I realized that what I was calling aging was actually something else. Disconnection. Disconnection from rhythm, from movement, from intention, from myself. I wasn't sick. I wasn't broken. I had just let my mornings disappear into default. Wake up late, scroll the news, coffee with nothing in my stomach, sit in the same chair, turn on the TV, drift. I wasn't living. I was lingering. And that quiet pattern was stealing my energy, not just for the morning, but for the entire day. So one night, out of frustration more than inspiration, I decided I would try something different the next morning. Just an experiment. I wrote it down step by step. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme. Just 6 small things I would do in order to see what changed. And what happened stunned me. By the end of that first week, I felt clearer, lighter. My digestion improved. My breath felt deeper. I had more energy, not the wild kind from youth, but the steady, reliable kind I hadn't felt in years. That was over a year ago, and I still do it. Not perfectly, not every single day, but enough that it's become part of me, part of how I greet the world again. So if you've been waking up tired, if your mornings feel aimless, if your energy has vanished quietly, I want to share this with you. Not as a prescription, but as a possibility. I'll walk you through the 6 simple steps that brought me back to life, body, mind, and spirit. None of them are hard. None of them take more than 10 minutes. You can do them in your pajamas. You can do them in silence. You can do them even when you don't feel like doing anything. And they will begin to shift something inside you. That's not magic. That's rhythm. That's biology meeting intention. Let's start with the first step. It begins before breakfast, before coffee, before the to-do list. It begins with something most people overlook: how you wake up and what you do with your breath in the first 2 minutes. Before your feet touch the ground, before the kettle whistles or the TV hums or the phone buzzes. Before anything outside you begins, there's a space. A quiet few minutes where the day hasn't yet decided what it will be. Most of us waste that space. We groan. We reach for the phone. We roll out of bed with a sigh and a sense of obligation. But that moment is sacred. It's the doorway between rest and action. And what you do with it sets the tone for everything that follows. That's why my morning routine begins while I'm still lying in bed. The first step is simple. I breathe. On purpose. I place one hand on my belly and one on my chest. I close my eyes again, not to sleep, but to listen. Then I take 3 deep breaths. In through the nose. Hold. Out through the mouth. Slowly. Each breath is a signal. It tells my nervous system, we're safe. We're not in a rush. We're starting with care. After those 3 breaths, I begin a very gentle stretch, still under the covers. I roll my ankles. I circle my wrists. I stretch my arms overhead and then bring them back down. I rotate my neck slowly from side to side. Nothing fancy, nothing forced, just motion. Gentle, grounding motion. This practice does something subtle but powerful. It tells the body that movement is coming, but it doesn't have to be jarring. It increases blood flow to the joints. It signals to the brain that we're transitioning out of sleep. It helps me avoid that heavy, sluggish feeling that used to stay with me until lunch. And here's something else I do in that same moment. I say one sentence in my head. Something kind, something clear. Sometimes it's thank you for this day. Sometimes it's I don't need to rush. Sometimes it's let's begin gently. That one sentence helps frame the morning. It shifts my mind from fear to presence, from aging to aliveness. It doesn't matter what the sentence is. It matters that it's yours. True, warm, grounded. After those few minutes, 3 breaths, a handful of stretches, 1 sentence, I sit up slowly. I don't rush to the kitchen. I sit at the edge of the bed and let my feet find the floor. That contact, feet to ground, is a symbolic moment. It's when I say to my body, we're stepping into this day with intention. Not force, not fear, just movement on purpose. And already, before the lights even changed in the room, something is different. My heart rate is steady. My mind is quiet. My spine is long. This moment used to belong to groaning and resistance. Now it belongs to me. And from that grounded place, I move into step 2. Not a chore, not a task, but something my body began to crave once I made a habit. A warm drink, slow hydration, and the quiet gift of waking the body from the inside out. Years ago, I used to reach for coffee the moment I hit the kitchen. Before water, before food, before breath, if I'm honest. I'd stand in my robe, half awake, and sip it like it was medicine. Sometimes it helped. Sometimes it made my hands shake. Sometimes it just felt like routine. But when my energy started slipping, when my mornings began to feel hollow, I realized something. I wasn't giving my body a true beginning. I was shocking it into motion, not supporting it. That's why the second step of my morning routine is something incredibly simple: warm hydration. No caffeine, no sugar, no performance. Just a mug of warm water with a slice of lemon, a sprinkle of cinnamon, or sometimes just plain. It sounds small. It is small, but that cup has changed everything. Here's why. After a night of sleep, your body is mildly dehydrated. You've gone 7 to 8 hours without fluid. And hydration doesn't just affect thirst, it affects your joints, your digestion, your mood, your circulation. Warm water, especially, is gentler on the stomach. It wakes up the digestive tract without demanding it to work too fast. It gets the system moving. Some mornings I add apple cider vinegar or a bit of grated ginger if I'm feeling sluggish. Not for a trend, for support, for warmth, for flow. This one act helps regulate my appetite for the rest of the day. I'm less likely to overeat and I digest better. I've also found that starting the day with giving rather than grabbing changes my mindset. I'm giving my body something soothing, nourishing, foundational, not asking it to wake up and immediately perform. While I sip that warm drink, I don't check the news. I don't open my phone. I sit by the window or sometimes at the kitchen table with the lights still low. This is not a rushed moment. It's a gift. It tells my nervous system we don't have to sprint into the day. We can walk. Sometimes I put on soft music. Sometimes I just listen to the house. The sounds of pipes, the creak of wood, the birds waking up. It's all part of the experience. Warm liquid, gentle presence, soft light. It's not productivity, it's presence. I used to think energy came from doing more, moving faster, starting earlier. But now I know energy comes from how you begin. And beginning with care is what helps that energy last. After I finish my warm drink, I feel something shift. My stomach feels settled. My head feels clearer. My body feels like it belongs to me again. And only then do I move into step 3. Still simple, still soft. It's not food yet. It's not chores. It's something just for the body itself. A short stretch and gentle movement to bring everything back online. And that's where I'll take you next. Once I've had my warm drink and the quiet of the house has wrapped itself around me like a blanket, I do something that once felt foreign. I move. Not a workout, not even exercise in the traditional sense. Just intentional, loving movement. This is the third step in my routine, and it's what began returning life to my muscles, joints, and posture after years of stiffness and sluggishness. Because here's what I've learned. Aging doesn't just happen to the body, it happens through stillness. And if you want to feel alive, you have to remind your body it's still in use, that it still matters, that it's still part of the equation. I used to avoid movement in the morning. I'd tell myself, my knees are too stiff, my back needs more time. And so I'd wait, and wait. And by mid-morning, I still hadn't moved. And I felt worse, not better. But one day, I decided to try something gentle. 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. I stood up and did a few arm circles. Roll my shoulders back. Stretch my arms overhead. Touch my toes. Not all the way, just until I felt my hamstrings say hello. I opened my chest with my hands behind my back. I bent my knees and straightened them slowly. I rotated my hips. I looked left and right, up and down, slowly moving my neck, That short series changed my relationship with mornings. It told my joints, you still belong to me. It told my brain, we're preparing for the day, not reacting to it. Now I have small routine I do every day. It lives in my living room. I don't need a mat or a mirror, just space to stretch. Some mornings I turn on soft music. Other times, I count my breaths with the movement. I stretch up with the inhale. I bend forward with the exhale. The rhythm becomes a meditation. A message, you're not rushing through this day. You're stepping into it. And it doesn't just help my body, it helps my mind. When I stretch in the morning, I feel less anxious later. I make better choices. I don't reach for sugar or sit too long. I feel inside myself instead of disconnected from my skin. Henry, an old friend of mine, once told me he felt trapped in his body after 75. I share my movement routine with him, and he started with just 2 stretches. Now he walks to the park twice a week. It's not exercise, he says. It's reclaiming space inside myself. That's exactly what it is. Your body wants to move. It was never meant to be still for hours. And when you give it even 5 minutes of attention in the morning, you're giving it a reason to support you all day long. After I stretch, I stand tall, shoulders back, chin up, not for posture, for power, for readiness. And then, from that place of motion, I move into nourishment. Not rushed, not skipped, not justified by the myth that I'm not hungry in the morning. No, I eat, because that's the next step, fueling the body with something real, something warm, something that tells your system, you have what you need to move forward today. And we'll talk about that next. I used to skip breakfast all the time. Some days I just wasn't hungry. Other days I felt too rushed, even if there was nothing waiting for me. And sometimes I simply didn't care. A cup of coffee, maybe a slice of toast, and I'd move on with the day. But then by 10 or 11 a.m., I'd feel it, the crash. My thoughts slowed. My limbs felt heavy. I'd start craving sugar or want to lie back down. For years, I blamed aging. But it wasn't age. It was a body asking for fuel and not getting it. That's why the 4th step in my morning routine is non-negotiable now. I eat a real breakfast. And I don't mean heavy or fancy. I mean balanced, intentional, and warm. Something that tells my body you are supported today. Something with protein to sustain my muscles and mood. Something with fiber to help digestion. Something warm or grounding to signal comfort. I rotate between simple meals. Oatmeal with chia seeds and almond butter. Scrambled eggs with spinach and a piece of rye toast. Plain Greek yogurt with walnuts, cinnamon, and sliced banana. On days when I want something light, I might sip a smoothie with kefir, berries, flaxseed, and a spoonful of peanut butter. The point isn't what it is. It's that it's real, that it has substance, warmth, and presence, that it isn't rushed or eaten standing up, that it reminds me I'm still choosing to show up for my body. Eating breakfast does something subtle but powerful. It regulates your blood sugar early, which means fewer crashes, fewer cravings, and more stable energy. It tells your digestion to begin working in rhythm. It improves mental clarity, and it helps your medication. If you take any, absorb more smoothly. More than that, it makes you feel like someone who matters, because feeding yourself is an act of respect, not routine. There's something sacred about sitting at the table in the morning, even if it's just for 10 minutes, even if it's quiet, even if you're alone. That meal becomes an anchor, a small declaration. I believe this day is worth nourishing. After breakfast, I clean up gently. I don't rush. I don't scroll my phone while chewing. Seat. I sip. I breathe. And I let the food do what it's meant to do. Support my body, lift my spirit, fuel my focus. Some people say they're not breakfast people. I used to say that too. But I've learned that even 5 bites of real food, eaten with attention, can change the trajectory of your day. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. And once I've eaten, something inside me feels more prepared. I feel filled, not just with food, but with presence. And from that place, I do something small that helps me stay on track. Not with goals, but with gratitude. Because the 5th step in my routine is not about what I eat or how I move, but how I remember what matters most. That's what we'll explore next. After breakfast, when my stomach is full, my body feels a little more alive, I don't jump straight into the day. I don't reach for a list. I don't dive into errands. Seat, just for a moment. Sometimes still at the table. Sometimes by the window. And I practice something that, for me, changed everything. I call a moment of remembering. For others, it might be called gratitude, or reflection, or grounding. But the feeling is the same. It's a pause that puts life back into perspective. It's the fifth step in my morning routine, and it's the quietest but perhaps the most powerful. For 2 minutes, no timer, no notebook. I ask myself 3 simple questions. What am I thankful for this morning? What matters most today? What do I let go of right now? I don't write them down unless I feel like it. I just answer in my head, sometimes out loud. Some mornings, the answers come easily. I'm thankful for the warm light in the kitchen, for the feeling of breath in my chest, for the steady way my knees held me during stretches. Other mornings, I have to dig. I might feel achy, or irritated, or emotionally flat. But even then, there's something. I'm thankful for rest, for stillness, for the chance to begin again. When I ask what matters, the answers surprise me. It's not the bills, not the to-do list. It's usually something soft. Call my niece. Take a walk. Be gentle with myself today. Say yes to quiet. And when I ask what I can let go of, it frees me. A grudge I woke up carrying. A pressure to get everything right. A memory that tried to follow me from yesterday. I breathe. I name it. I let it leave. This practice isn't spiritual for everyone. For some, it's simply mental hygiene, like brushing the mind. For others, it becomes prayer, a moment of connection with something greater. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is that you give yourself permission to feel oriented. We spend so much of life reacting. This is about remembering who you are before the world tells you who to be. Nancy, 78, told me she started her day every morning with a list of what she didn't get done yesterday. I thought it would help motivate me, she said. Instead, it made me feel behind before I even got dressed. Now, she lights a candle and lists 3 good things. No matter how small, my mornings feel lighter, she says. I stopped punishing myself before the day even started. That's the key. Life after 70 doesn't need more productivity. It needs more presence. This 2-minute pause, this remembering, helps me start from a place of enough. Not lack, not comparison. Enough. And from that place, the day unfolds differently. My energy doesn't come from hype. It comes from alignment. From knowing what actually matters, what doesn't, and what I still want to show up for. And from there, I step into the final part of my routine. Something that keeps me honest, keeps me balanced, and makes sure I don't get lost again. A simple physical anchor to carry the rhythm forward and keep the fog from returning. That's what we'll explore next. The final step in my morning routine isn't about effort. It's not even about time. It's about holding on to the rhythm I've just created so I don't lose it before noon. Because let's be honest, the day pulls at you. A phone call, a headline, a missed appointment. Even good things like a friend dropping by or an unexpected task can knock you off center. So I needed something that stayed with me, something that reminded me, you began this day with care. You can return to that care no matter what happens next. That's why the 6th and final step of my morning routine is what I call a physical anchor. Something I carry into the day that brings me back when I drift. Some days, it's a small stone I keep in my pocket. Smooth, warm, comforting. I hold it during my morning breath, then tuck it into my coat. When I feel scattered later, I place my hand on it and breathe. It brings me back. Other days, it's a phrase written on a note card and propped near the kitchen sink. Something I chose during my reflection. Be gentle today. You don't have to rush. Presence over performance. Some mornings, I draw a small, invisible X on the inside of my wrist with my finger. It sounds silly, but it works. It reminds me, I began this day awake. I can return to that awareness anytime. For you, it might be a bracelet you only wear in the morning hours. A specific tea you sip again at 2 p.m. A post-it on your mirror. The form doesn't matter. The intention does. It's a loop, a soft return. Something that says, energy isn't created once and lost forever. It can be recalled, reclaimed, restored. This anchor completes the circle. It ties breath to body, movement to nourishment, thought to action. It helps prevent the drift. And when I forget, when I find myself sinking back into the couch at 11 a.m. wondering where the morning went, I touch that anchor. I return, gently, always gently, because this routine isn't about control. It's about relationship with myself, with the morning, with the kind of life I still want to have. So let me say this to you clearly, especially if you've been feeling tired, overwhelmed, disconnected from the rhythm you once had. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need 27 new habits. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to begin with one soft morning, one breath, one sip of warm water, one stretch, one small meal, one sentence of kindness, one reminder. And from that small beginning, your energy will return, not in a flash, but in a quiet, steady, faithful way. That's what happened to me, and it's still happening. I'm 76, and my mornings no longer feel like something I have to survive. They feel like something I get to meet, and that's what I wish for you. Thank you for being here. If this story resonated, tell me in the comments, what does your morning feel like right now? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and come back next time for more simple, honest ways to return to yourself. One breath at a time.